Okay, so we're going to keep working on inequalities tonight. We're going to look at graphing them and shading them and using a test point. So if we look over here, we have graphing inequalities, and we have our y is greater than or equal to 3x. So if you remember, we're going to treat that as y equals mx plus b. Now you can see here, my b, there's nothing in the equation for b. Well, what represents nothing? 0. So my y-intercept here must be 0. So I'm going to put a 0 there. Then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to look at where it's in my m position, because the m position is the slope. So if I look over here, in the m is the 3. So m equals 3, or 3 over 1. So it's going to tell me to go up 3 and write a positive 1. So I'm going to come over here to my graph and go up 1, 2, 3, and over 1. I look over here, and on here I have an equals 2 sign. So that tells me that I'm going to need a solid line. So I'm going to go down to my lines here. Let's see, where are we at? And I'm going to draw my line through here, make sure it covers the whole graph, and put my arrows on it. Okay? So then I want to see which side do I shade. Well, last night we talked about how it's easy to plug in 0, 0, because that makes the math easy. But here you can see 0, 0 is on our line. So that won't tell me whether to shade it to the right or left. So here's my 0, 0. If that point is true, do I shade to the right? Do I shade to the left? I don't know. So I'm going to have to find a different point to plug in. So if I look over here, I can pick any point. Let's just go ahead and pick maybe point 22. Okay? So I'm going to look at point 22. And let's see. So that's 2 and 2. So I'm going to plug that in for, this is my x and this is my y. So I'll go over to my equation and I'll plug in 2 for y is greater than or equal to 3 times 2. So that says 2 is greater than or equal to 6. Well, that's not true. 2 is smaller than 6. So that means all the points on this side of the line of my test point are false. So if all these points are false for the equation, all these points on this side must be my solution. All these must work. Okay? And we can prove it by picking a point on this side. If I pick a point, let's see here, which is negative 2, 2, I plug in 2 here, and I put my greater than or equals to sign, and then I have 3 and negative 2. That's going to give me 6 is greater than or equal to negative 6, and that's a true statement. 6 is bigger than 2. So the idea here is that we have to plug a test point in other than 0, 0, and then do a shade the top or bottom left or right of the line. So let's look at one more example. So here I can see, again, I have an inequality. Okay, so I have, here we go. So I have y equals mx plus b. Again, there's no b in this situation. Oh, I already have the graph on. So I'm going to put in my 0 here, and then the slope over here is to negative 1/2. So again, we have m equals negative 1 over 2. So that tells me to go down negative 1 and write 2. I'm teaching a monkey. Yes, the monkey is teaching them. See, he's in the window right here. Monkey's teaching them. He's teaching them about slope. So I go to my 0, 0 here, and that tells me to go down 1, right 2. which I already had the line drawn on accident. So here's my line. Now remember, over here, when I look at that inequality, there's no equals to sign, it's just less than. So we have to do the dash line for this equation, because that means the points on the dash do not count. So having a point on the dash line doesn't tell me to shade the top or the bottom. So I have to pick another point. So if I go over here, I'm going to pick either a point on this side or this side. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to go ahead and try and pick this point right here, because if this point is right, it'll tell me to shade this top side. So this is point 1, 2. So x is 1 and y is 2. So if I go over to my equation here, I'm going to plug 2 in for y. That's less than. And then I have negative 1/2, and I'm going to plug 1 in for x. So that is going to give me 2 is less than negative 1/2 times 1, which is negative 1/2. So is 2 less than 1/2? Pretty sure it's not. Pretty sure 2 is more than negative 1/2. So if we go back to our graph over here, that means all these points are false. If this point on this side of the line are false, then all these points over here must be true. So I'm going to shade these points. Okay? So I want you to try 2 of those on your own to see how well you do. So if we, let's see, go down a little bit, I've got 2 points, or 2 graphs. I want you to write these and graph these. And, oh no, there we go. Draw these and graph these and shade these and come in tomorrow. We'll talk about them. So I hope you have a good night. I hope that my makeover looks good. Do I look better? I think my eyes look good. See you in the morning.
I bet I can pull up.